night settles, and Home Tree glows like calm stars gathered close. The clans hum, thinning to a soft breath, while Atokarina drift and vanish into the dark. If this brought you ease, allow your body to sink and rest with the steady rhythm of the forest around you, and let your thoughts drift like seeds on a gentle wind. If this story brought you peace, you can find more like it here. Sweet dreams, and I look forward to seeing you next time. The morning you choose is clear and kind. The light a thin ribbon through high leaves, the air cool enough to sharpen breath. You touch 2 fingers to your chest and then to the earth, and you lift your bow one last time. Not because the people need meat today, but because gratitude wants form. Your joints speak as you walk and you listen, shaping your path along soft ground and braided roots that have carried you since childhood. You track by memory more than sign. A narrow scrape where a hexapede once rubbed an itch years ago still holds the right height for a clean shot. A bend of grass shows where water gathers after brief rain. You pause and find an elder animal, alone and unhurried, bones speaking with their own long story. You wait as you taught others to wait, letting the world settle until your presence is part of it. The arrow leaves you like an exhale. The body falls without struggle. You kneel, hand to neck, prayer low and even. Thanks is not an end, it is a bridge. You dress the gift slowly, each motion a memory. Sinew coiled, hide folded, meat lifted with care. You leave a woven charm and another beside it, not because one is required, but because 2 feels right. When you rise, balance holds inside you like the steady glow under bark after touch. You carry the weight home, and young hands meet you at the edge of the platform, eager but gentle. You pass the bundle and the story that rides with it. Their eyes shine. You smile and rest. Afternoon drifts into a sky the color of deep water. Your ikran lands before you call, lowering its neck the way it learned when your knees began to stiffen. You stroke warm hide and press your brow to bone. One last flight, you think without words, and your companion answers with a patient flare of wing. The clan gathers along high paths and outer boughs, faces lifted, a quiet tide of presence that holds you without holding you back. You climb with care, guided by muscle memory and the tender help of a hand when needed. Tsahelu clicks into place, familiar and full. The rise from the ledge is clean, the drop a small thrill that still finds you, the catch of wind as sure as ever. You take the long circuit, tracing old routes that once taught your eyes distance. A waterfall throws mist against your face. A floating isle casts a moving shadow like a blessing. Below, you see trails you showed children who are no longer children. You climb higher than habit, not to strain, but to see more at once. The Hallelujah Mountains drift, anchored by nothing you can name and everything you trust. You roll in a slow arc your body never forgot, and you laugh once, quiet, a sound you feel in your ribs more than your throat. When you return, you circle the home tree wide, saluting with a shallow dive. Your ikran banks to face you on the ledge, eyes bright, chest lifting in time with yours. You release the bond gently and hold the moment after like held breath. Thank you, old friend, is a thought that lands true. The people meet you at the roots where earth is cool and smells of rain. The Olo Ektan speaks briefly of courage shaped by patience, of care that fed more than mouths. The Tsahik's palms touch your brow, chest, and hands, tracing the paths you traveled most. The clan settles around you, a bowl of warmth. You lie back among the roots you climbed as a child. Hands find your hands. The hum begins, low and steady. Your breath eases until it aligns with the forest's slow rhythm. A tokurina drift from the canopy, pale and listening, settling near like soft thought. You offer memory to the waiting song, flight and river, the patience of stone, the quick forgiveness of leaves after a startling step. You feel the people holding those memories, making space so nothing is lost. When your chest stills, it feels like a tide reaching the shore and resting at last. The tools you loved are passed as you asked. The first knife finds a young carver's belt. The weather cord knots at a wrist that will learn its language. Your ikron lifts, keens once, and rises into light, a blue shape folding into sky. The story that carried you opens and joins the larger chorus. Your thread woven where it cannot fray. Your joints speak more now, not in complaint, but in weather. You rise a little slower and choose paths with kinder slopes. Yet your presence draws the young the way light draws seeds to open. Elder is not a title given in one breath. It settles over seasons as people begin to pause before they act and glance toward you. You answer with patience. Counsel is often a question placed where it can bloom. What do you feel the forest is asking here? You become keeper of trails no map can hold. Your fingers trace the air as you recall a stream that moved its mouth in a storm many years back, and a new grove that grew where lightning once split the earth. You show how scent remembers what sight forgets, how moss points, how stone heat lingers at dusk to mark a safe ledge. Stories hold directions. You offer them in pieces, letting listeners fit edges until the path appears inside them. The Olo Ektan and the Tsahik come to you not for answers, but for the way your questions thin the fog. When disputes rise, you ask each person to carry a single piece of river stone and speak while holding it, so words slow to the weight in their hands. Silence does half the work. You end with the small prayer for balance, fingers to chest, fingers to earth, and the group breathes together until sharpness dulls to understanding. Tsahik's work moves through you more often. You were always a helper. Now you are sometimes a guide. Healing songs live in your marrow, their cadence able to settle fear even when your voice is low. You grind leaves to paste, listening for the moment the scent turns from raw to ready, then mix sap until it gleams like wet bark. You lay cool hands where heat climbs a brow and whisper, breath counts that carry pain to the edge, and back without breaking. Visions are not spectacle. They arrive in the half-light behind your closed eyes when the people hum as one, and the tree's roots slowly wake. Sometimes they are a single image, a river braid loosening, a nest overturned by wind, a tokurina drifting against a red sky. You speak them simply, never pressing meaning, trusting the clan to hold them. In the days after, you notice how choices lean in gentle response, how preparations are made without alarm. You close quiet loops that opened long ago. At a dusk gathering, you tell the birth story of the child who grew into a patient hunter, describing the atokarina that lingered at their brow. You name the moments that echoed that omen. The day they stood between angry voices and let calm rise like mist. The night they waited before releasing the arrow so a mother could move her fawn aside. Faces soften as pattern reveals itself. What once felt like chance now feels like thread. Teaching through silence becomes your preferred tool. When a young hunter scans the canopy and misses the sign that a storm will bend the trunks by morning, you do not say the word. You place a leaf in their palm and tilt it just so, So the fine hairs catch a faint draft. Their eyes widen. The lesson roots. When a child ties a knot too fast, you sit quietly near and tie one slow, then set your rope aside and leave. The next day, their knots hold. The clan gathers regularly for renewal. You help shape reconciliation circles where pairs sit knee to knee and speak one truth and one gratitude. You keep rhythm on a hollowed trunk, a heartbeat that steadies voices. When tempers rise, you signal a shift into a low song that invites breath longer than anger. You lead bond mending by placing small shared tasks between frayed hands. Carry this basket together, mend this net side by side, and let work reteach trust. In the cool of late nights, you sit where root meets root and feel your own body lean toward a deeper pulse. You stroke the scars on your bow, each one a memory you no longer need to carry alone. Your ikran lands with care now, mindful of your slower step, and lowers its neck for your hand. You speak to it with thought more than sound, gratitude steady as tide. You begin to pass tools with ceremony. A young carver receives your first knife, its edge still singing. You tell how many hides it learned before you let it touch bone. They hold it as if it were warm. Another receives your beaded cord of weather signs, each glyph explained, then left for them to test against the sky. You do not hover. You let them discover their own way to be right. When the clan sleeps, you remain awake a while longer, listening for the small shifts a leader must hear. Rope strain, branch creak, a cough that is not like the others. You rise if needed, or you rest if not, easing into dreams where the forest speaks in the same calm voice you try to keep for your people. The body slows, yes. The spirit quickens toward Awa's wide, waiting song, and you meet that pull with peace. Tools arrive as the child's hands are ready. A practice bow is sized to small arms. Fletching is chosen for visibility rather than speed. You model the draw, the elbow's quiet angle, the way the shoulders ease after release. Arrows miss, and you let them miss. Only when frustration tightens the child's jaw do you step behind and steady their stance with the lightest touch. Then step away again so the next breath is theirs. A new shot lands close. You do not cheer loud. You nod, warm and steady. Micro-lessons grow into stories. The child forgets a rope knot, and a basket spills fruit across the platform. You crouch, gather two pieces, and retie slowly while the child watches, hands itching to fix it fast. You tell how your own first basket fell into a river and drifted half a day before an elder caught it with a hook and a very patient smile. The child laughs, tension thinning, and the second knot holds. Clan defense becomes guardianship with deeper quiet. You sit with the child on high watch, teaching ears to sort night sounds, the far call of an ikran, the saw-soft rasp of an insect, the wrong silence that means a predator is near. Signals pass through your hands, a tap for stillness, a circle for gather, a splayed palm for hold. When danger edges close, you move the child behind, not hidden from truth, only sheltered from the first edge. After, you walk the path where the fear was, and show how quickly the forest heals if left in peace. Seasons carry your teaching into new shapes. During the wet cycle, you teach stepping stones of light, how to touch bioluminescent roots with care so they glow only enough to guide and do not call more eyes than you want. In dry weeks, you show how to find water by reading the fold of leaves, how to sip dew from a rolled frond. Under cold stars, you both lie back and trace the patterns elders once traced for you, naming trails that have no ground. As parents age into elders, your voice turns softer and surer, because the child has learned to listen to what is unsaid. You sit together near the tsahik's hearth at dusk while healing songs drift, letting the warmth ease the day's ache. Young ones gather around you without being called, and you teach by asking them to show you what they know. Their answers come with pride, mistakes included. You smile, and the correction is often only a new story told in a different order. In time, the child carries another child, and you stand in the quiet circle, palm to heart, as a new name enters the people's song. You step back, content to watch your lessons walk on without you pushing. The clan holds you where you belong now, near the roots, within reach for counsel, ready to lift or lighten when asked. Your days feel full and simple, threaded through with the same prayer you made at the beginning. Keep balance, keep breath, keep faith with Ewa and the people. Birth comes like soft rain, steady and brave. Midwives move with hands that know every turn a body makes when it brings life to light. The tsahik's voice is a low thread, weaving breath and ease, shaping the room so fear has no place to hold. Kin wait in a quiet circle beyond the woven curtain, palms pressed to hearts, offering balance while the forest hums. When the child arrives, slick and strong, a hush falls that feels like first dawn finding the canopy. Two tiny hands open, and the world seems to lean closer. The first sound is small and sure, then settles as the infant rests skin to chest, heartbeat to heartbeat. Warm oil is smoothed across blue skin, and the cue is covered in a soft wrap, protected until it knows its own strength. The tsahik marks a line of pale pigment down the brow, blessing for breath, then taps 2 fingers to the little sternum in the prayer for balance. The clan draws nearer, each person pausing to press fingertips to their own chest and then to the woven floor, returning thanks for a safe passage. Naming waits for the right light and a clear feeling. Over 2 nights, you watch the child sleep, noting the way fingers curl, the timing of small sighs, the way the eyes settle quickly after a start. At dawn, a tokarina drift across the threshold, unhurried, and land briefly above the child's head before they rise again like seeds on a low tide. The tsahik nods once. The name you speak echoes patience and clean strength, a sound that fits the child's breath as if they chose it first. Days shape themselves around the infant's rhythms. You wear the child in a sling as you climb, body and tail adjusting instinctively around the new weight. Your mate moves ahead to test each hold, and together you mark routes that keep the little one cradled but never boxed in. Feeding, resting, bathing in a shallow bowl warmed by sun. Each becomes a ritual with small prayers, all of them seeds of the same lesson: respect and ease. At night, the cradle hammock rocks with the touch of your foot, and the lullaby you learned as a child returns unforced to your lips. When legs grow steady and eyes begin to track the darting light of a seed pod, the first bond lesson arrives. You guide small hands to stroke a Polly's warm neck, pausing whenever eagerness turns to push. Breath first, you say with a smile. Breath teaches patience to the fingers. The Polly lowers its great head, the child's cue lifts, and you help them meet gently. The click is quiet, and the child's laugh is sudden and pure, eyes widening with the new shape of shared feeling. You keep the bond brief, then ease them apart, praising the softness of the child's touch. Teaching respect is a daily pattern. Before food, 2 fingers to the chest, 2 to the earth. Before a harvest, a hand resting on bark until the tree's damp pulse returns. You show how to cut clean, to seal wounds with sap, to leave roots that will grow again. The child forgets and pulls too fast. A branch snaps and startles a nesting hexapede. You kneel, guide their palm to the trunk, and let them feel the shiver traveling under bark. You say little. Understanding blooms in the pause, and the apology is a gentle press of forehead to wood. Work shifts because love shifts it. You plan for two where you once planned for one. Flights are coordinated so that one pair watches the weather while the other guides the young. When storms gather, you brace each other with a hand to the lower back, a habit that says we stand together here. In the evening, you sit near the elders and absorb the rhythms of those who have carried bonds longer than you have lived. You learn the small repairs that keep a shared life steady. How to listen when your temper wants to speak. How to speak when your fear wants to hide. Feasts bring song, and song carries stories that are more than celebration. A chorus lifts a tale of two who once bridged a rift between families by sharing a hunt in lean times. A verse names partnerships that brought medicine to a sick grove, that held watch through a hard season, that raised not only children but courage. You and your mate add your thread by standing, hands joined when the tzahik calls for harmony. The people answer with a low hum that vibrates in bone, an acceptance that settles you both deeper into the web. Responsibilities widen. You take turns mentoring, offering younger hunters the advantage of your matched timing. One of you shows how two can track like one mind. The other demonstrates how to break apart quickly and meet again without words. In matters of defense, you share signals that carry farther than sound, a tilt of chin, a splay of fingers, a set of shoulders, and the group moves as though guided by a single hand. Care extends to those at both ends of the circle. You bring food to elders who no longer climb easily, and you carry infants so new that their limbs still move with dream starts. On quiet afternoons, you and your mate craft, sitting hip to hip, plaiting fibers for hammocks that will cradle children who are not yours by blood, but are yours by the people's claim. You mend what frayed under strain, ropes, bonds, tempers, by being steady first with each other. When a tokarina drift near your shared threshold one twilight, pale and patient, neither of you reaches to touch. You stand together and watch them drift, mindful, grateful, open. If new life stirs soon, you will meet it with the same care you were given. If not, you remain a pair who strengthens the clan exactly where you stand, threads woven tight enough to hold others when they need rest. The harmony you keep is not constant ease. It is balance, checked and rechecked with gentle hands and honest eyes. In that ongoing work, your life bond becomes more than comfort. It becomes a way the people breathe. Two voices, one rhythm, carrying others into steadier ground. Courtship begins the way dawn spreads, small, steady, noticed first by those who rise early. You and another drift toward the same tasks without planning it. A shared hunt where words are few but movements match. A flight where your ikron bank in time, one shadow crossing another and settling into one arc. In the circle of songs, your glances meet and move on, not to hide, but to keep the truth warm. Gestures speak where voices would crowd the moment. A carved bead traded after a clean hunt, its curve echoing a path you both walked. A strand of woven fiber placed by a water shelf where you often rest, the pattern simple, the meaning quiet and sure. Laughter comes softer between you. Old stories turn new because the listener is new, and you find that silence beside this person is as full as language. You both seek counsel without announcing it. An elder watches you dance one evening and, with a small smile, shifts the rhythm to see if you hold each other or lose the step. You hold. The Olo Ektan nods at you in the morning light, saying nothing, trusting that the people's pattern will carry you where you are meant to go. The Tsahik watches longer, eyes kind, weighing timing, heart, and the ways your paths already weave through the clan's work. When the choice ripens, you climb together to an old bough grown level as a floor, where the bark is polished by generations. There, where wind sings low and the forest's breath rises, you share words not as vows, but as clear offerings. I see your strength. I know your patience. I carry my own shadows and my own light. I will keep balance with you. You touch foreheads, then pull back, allowing the space to hold what you have said. Mating before Ewa is private and sacred. You sit facing, knees brushing, and let your breath find one pace. Your hands meet, then fall away, and the cues you have tended since childhood lift as if they know the path home. Tsahelu closes the distance with a click that sounds inside the skull like a door soft closing. Minds open, not to flood, but to meet. Memory arrives as sensation more than image. Cool river, sun-warmed bark, the tremble of first flight. And you feel their versions of the same. How water felt on their skin. How wind lifted their chest. How fear softened under a hand on a shoulder years ago. Time changes shape. Thought blends without losing edges. You are not taken. You are joined, holding your own outline while learning the map of another's. There is tenderness and heat, laughter that rolls through both bodies at once, stillness that deepens because two hearts rest in the same room. No vow is spoken aloud. The vow lives where the bond lives, in the quiet that follows when breath falls even and the cues part with lingering warmth. In the days after, the clan greets you not with spectacle but with patterns that make space. Hammocks are moved to a shared alcove. A platform is offered a little closer to the outer light where the breeze is kind. You craft a home together that holds tools and story. A wall panel is smoothed for shared maps. Hooks are carved for bows and baskets. A small basin is set where morning water can rest and cool. You hang charms in doorways that chime in soft wind, not to ward away, but to invite calm. Seasonal shifts bring different lessons. When rains fill the lowlands, you teach how to track on water, following ripples instead of prints and watching for the quick breath pattern of a river dweller before it breaks the surface. When dry air tightens leaf and bark, you guide the clan to high groves where fruit swells late, and you remind them to leave more than they take. Storm signs speak in a language of scent and pressure. You feel a change in the back of your throat and turn the group toward a limestone cave that once kept your grandmother safe. You light no flame. Bioluminescent roots are enough. You tell a short story in the dark to ease a child's nerves, and let silence settle when the thunder grows distant. Not every threat should be met with teeth. You steer young blood away from clashes that would open wounds that never close. When a predator prowls near nursery platforms, you move with others to drive it off using sound, scent, and presence, saving the arrow for when no path remains. In the clearing after, the Tsahik teaches a salve that cools burns and draws out fever. You learn to grind leaves against a flat stone in a slow circle until the scent turns from bitter to sweet. Then add sap, drop by drop, until the paste wakes with life. Healing is hunting the illness, then releasing it. Night travel is a quiet procession guided by the glow that wakes with each touch. You lead, tapping a low branch so it blooms soft blue just long enough for the person behind you to find their footing, then fades again. The sky clears, and you read the river of stars like you read a trail, finding waypoints that only appear when leaves thin. A child at the back yawns. You pass a story forward in small pieces, each person adding a line about a place you all know, building a map in words that keeps steps light. In time, the people begin to turn to you early, not only when something must be done, but when something must be understood. You carry this without stiffness. At meals, you choose the last portion. In dispute, you speak second. In celebration, you dance first, drawing the shy into the circle with a subtle tilt of chin. When your own courage wavers, you climb before dawn to sit beside your ikran, palm against warm hide, remembering the stillness after the struggle on that ledge. Breath in, breath out, duty like a steady wind at your back. Morning begins with the soft brush of leaves against your shoulder and the calm weight of expectation that feels like a well-fitted cloak. You rise with the first pale light and touch 2 fingers to your forehead, then to the ground, offering balance before movement. Your ikran waits in a high cradle of branches, but today your feet carry you through understory paths where quiet is the most faithful companion. Tracking is listening with your whole body. Dew on bent grass tells direction. A faint oil on bark speaks of a poly herd that passed in the night. You kneel where the soil holds a clear pad print, measuring depth with your fingertips, knowing this one limped and kept to shade. Your bow rests against your spine, string quiet against wood. A blade at your hip rides in a sheath you made yourself, oiled with resin, sharpened with patience. Before the hunt, a prayer. You hold an arrow across open palms and breathe. 2 words in your own tongue, simple and steady, mark the promise. Take only what the people need, and leave the world able to sing. You touch the arrow's point to the earth, then lift it to your chest, setting intention where it cannot be misplaced. Your steps become a soft thread through ferns and low glow. You move when the wind moves, pause when branches still. A hexapede herd grazes in a shallow hollow, glassy eyes half-lidded, ears turning to drink the air. You study the group, not the nearest body. You look for age, health, the one whose time aligns with need. You select without cruelty, choosing a lone adult with scars that tell of many escapes. You whisper 1 word of thanks before the string lifts. The release is clean. The arrow lands true behind the shoulder, and the hexapede falls with a sigh, not a cry. You run in, kneel, and press your hand to its neck, lending breath until the breath is gone. The small prayer repeats inside your chest like a slow drum. You place a frond over its eyes and remain until your heartbeat matches calm. Then the work begins. Knife care is a ritual that makes every cut a promise kept. You open along the seam that nature offers, never tearing, never wasting. Organs are set aside with respect. Sinew is coiled for future use. Hide is rolled tight, grain side in to keep it supple. You leave a gift, a woven charm of grass and bead hung from a nearby branch, tokens that say the debt is not forgotten. Ants and small birds will feed. The ground will close. Balance will hold. Success feeds the clan. Therefore, the circle turns back to you with greater weight. With full bellies, eyes look to you for training, for quiet judgment on which path keeps the song clear. A group of younger hunters fans out behind you as afternoon warms. You show them how to read lichen on north faces, how to test wind with the bare skin of the wrist. how to angle their bodies so their shadows fall with the trees. You stop one with a hand on a shoulder, guiding their foot an inch to the left to avoid a brittle twig, then let them move again without a word. Pride grows best when it has room to breathe. The struggle is brief and absolute. A leap, a tumble, the sound of claws on stone, the quick flash of teeth. Your hands grip the bone ridge at its crest, your legs lock against its shoulders, and your tail whips for balance. The Ikron bucks like a storm. You ride the motion not to conquer, but to match. Heartbeats align through effort and will. Then the stillness arrives, sudden and deep. The creature's chest lifts. Yours follows. The space between your eyes warms. You reach back, fingers sure, opening your cue. Tsahelu clicks into place with a sweetness that rises like dawn. The rush is not noise. It is clarity. The Ikron's sight becomes yours, edges sharp and far. The wind's map opens inside your head as if you always knew the path but forgot until now. The fear that stood behind your ribs melts into a clean edge of attention. You feel the Ikron's suspicion soften, its pride unbent but shared. Two minds breathe in the same room. Your mentor's voice comes from a respectful distance, a single word that means only fly. You run together. The ledge becomes a tapering note, and the air takes you. The first drop steals your stomach, then gives it back as the wings bite the wind and lift. You lean without thinking. The Ikron answers. You think turn, and the body beneath you carves the air in a slow arc that sets a cloud against cliff. The world that was stone and effort becomes sky and trust. You test a roll, the horizon folds and rights itself, and laughter that you didn't plan slips from your mouth, carried away intact. You learn the small commands that are not commands at all. The tilt of hips to dive, the widening of knees to slow, the weight through ankles to climb. Your breath sets cadence, your mind sets intention. Your Ikron answers because you are now one pattern. You pass the nesting ledges and hear the voices of others who have flown this day, distant yips of joy and relief. The mentor rises on a second Ikron to watch, nothing more, eyes keen, mouth calm. Cloud gives way to sunlight. You skim the surface of a mist lake held between floating stone, dropping your fingers through the cool, leaving a ribbon that breaks and vanishes. You take a higher path and feel the air thin, edges crisp. The Hallelujah Mountains drift, and for a moment you exist with them, unmoored and steady, held by the same unseen balance. When you return to the ledge, your landing is awkward, then better on the second try. The Ikron shakes its neck and folds its wings with a dignity that makes you straighten your spine in answer. You unbind the cue gently, lingering in the quiet afterglow of connection, and rest your brow against bone. Gratitude needs no words. The mentor approaches at last, touches your shoulder, and places a small carved bead in your palm. Simple, etched with a curve that suggests wing and wind. The path home is no longer a climb. It is a glide, a shared descent toward duties you have only watched from below. Forest rises to meet you, familiar yet changed by the sky now living in your eyes. With air beneath you, the way forward widens. With an Ikron beside you, the clan's work opens like a door you have earned the right to enter. As limbs grow sure and your breath learns longer paths, the climb begins to call. The elders speak the name with calm weight. Iknemaya. You wake before the pink edge of dawn, palms steady, heart quieted by the small prayer across your chest. A mentor walks beside you, not to carry, but to listen as you test your steps. The Hallelujah Mountains rise in mist, floating like slow thoughts above the forest, and the air is thin enough to make each breath a promise. The ascent starts on stone worn by generations of toes, the path curling along the mountain's living edge. Wind slides along cliffs and seeks your balance. Your fingers find holds in pitted rock, and your toes spread, cat-like, to read texture the way eyes read light. The mentor says little. A hand touches your shoulder when your weight drifts forward, reminding you to settle back through your heels. The mountain answers every mistake without anger, only with the truth of gravity. Ledges narrow to the width of a hand, and the open space on your left becomes a gentle teacher. You keep your gaze where your weight will land, not where fear gathers. When a gust tests your stance, you lower your center and breathe through the moment, counting heartbeats as the air rushes past and moves on. Vines hang like ropes the color of rain-wet leaf. You test each one with a tug, and trust only what answers with living strength. Higher, the air tastes cold and clean. The currents become voices you can hear against your cheeks. Your tail balances for you, a quiet counterpoint to every reach. A span bridges 2 floating aisles, no thicker than your wrist. Others have crossed, and you place your foot where their feet pressed, feeling the memory of them in the wood's soft give. You step, and then the next, guided by your own rhythm. Your mentor waits until you stand safe, then nods once, approval given without words. You pause at an outcrop where the world opens. The forest lies below like a sea, the clouds like slow rivers, and above, the whisper of wings begins to thread the air. Ikran. You knew their calls in dreams. Now you hear them with bone and breath. The nesting ledges ring the cliff face, and the sky swirls with color and motion, blues and greens catching light, each shape distinct and fierce. Your pulse steadies instead of racing. This is not a test of speed, it is a meeting. The ritual is simple in form and deep in meaning. You do not choose an ikran. You are chosen when you are worthy of meeting. The mentor reminds you with a quiet sentence, then steps back into the rock's shadow. You gather yourself, palms on stone, knees bending. Air moves around you and through you. You step into the ledge's open span and call. Voice clear but not loud. Intention like a line cast into water. Wings cut the air. A shape breaks from the wheeling pattern and drops, a streak of color and muscle. It lands with a strike of claws that echoes in the cavity of the mountain. A hiss blooms like lightning. You meet its gaze and do not look away. Everything you learned about insisting falls away. You stand your ground, chest lifted, breath low, no threat in your shoulders, no fear in your feet. The ikran snaps, testing the space between you. You step forward into that space, claiming it without force. There are small missteps. You dash after a darting lizard and startle a nesting bird. The scold is quiet and immediate. A guide sets your hand on the bark by the nest, and you feel the slight tremble inside the wood. Lives ripple into one another, the elder says without saying. You nod, mouth pressed, and stand still long enough to notice how calm returns when you do. In the dim corridors of the home tree, stories are traced with charcoal on smooth panels. Maps of routes, the curve of a ridge, the arc of a river path. You run your fingers along the lines, learning with skin and eyes. When a storm sweeps in, you feel home tree lean, hear deep wood speaking to deeper ground. Safety, you learn, is not stillness but balance. On some evenings, the tzahik allows you to watch a healing song. The sick breathe more easily as the cadence settles. Herbs are prepared with motions that waste nothing. You are not close enough to touch, but you are close enough to learn that care is a skill, a prayer, and a pattern. It teaches your body to move slow when others rush, and quick when others stall. You fall asleep to soft humming, cradled by woven hammocks that sway like calm water. Above, the canopy holds the last light, and below, the roots remember. Your limbs lengthen, your eyes grow steady, and the world that once felt too large begins to feel exactly your size. The trials of youth do not loom. They beckon, patient and sure, as if the path was laid the day you first opened your eyes. You grow beneath woven bark and leaf, where family is not a single branch but a canopy. Mothers, fathers, siblings, cousins, and those who are simply people share warmth, tasks, and laughter that falls in soft waves. Names are spoken with care, often shortened in affection, and the small ear flicks and quiet trills of greeting become a daily comfort. Morning begins with light passing through the trunk corridors, and the scent of sap, earth, and clean wood smoke eases you into wakefulness. First lessons arrive by watching. A hand shows you how to balance on a root that arcs like a gentle bridge. Another hand guides your step to a knot of bark, and you learn to lean into the tree's curve, letting it hold you as you climb. When you slip, the caught breath of an aunt or an elder shifts into a quiet chuckle, and you are set back on the path. You begin to trust the rhythm of trunk and limb, of foot and fiber, moving with the tree rather than against it. Language is shared through songs and small corrections. You learn to whisper thank you to a leaf that shades you, to a vine that lends its strength. A simple gesture across the chest before food becomes habit. The prayer for balance, the promise that nothing taken is nameless, and nothing offered is ignored. Elders remind you that Ewa hears what is felt more than what is said, so you learn to calm your breath before you ask. Your cue is explained the way a stream explains flow, by bringing you to the bank and letting you see. At first, there is a moth with wings like thin cloth and a patient sway. A mentor holds your small hands, steady as stone but warm as sunlit bark, and guides your cue to meet the creature. The first brush is tentative. Then the quiet click of recognition arrives. Your breath slows as a subtle presence touches yours. The moth's small life glows inside your awareness without words. You release, and the quiet after is a new kind of listening. Later, a small hexapede, then a low branch with a wisdom of its own. Each time, Tsahelu is a meeting rather than a taking. You learn the difference between curiosity and insistence. If you push, the bond resists. If you soften, it opens. An elder places a hand over your heart and nods, and you feel the lesson settle. Join, do not force. Play is practice with gentler edges. Children vanish behind broad leaves, their tails flicking with poor stealth, and reappear with laughter. You learn to move without snapping twigs, to still your breath while counting the heartbeats of your hiding place. A practice bow is shaped for you, light, curved, and forgiving. Fingers learn the strings bite and the releases sigh. Small targets hang from vines. When your arrow thuds far wide, a cousin offers a tip about the angle of your elbow, then slips away so your next shot is your own. At twilight, the clan's songs thread through the air. A line about a storm that broke long ago. A verse naming the trails to the eastern stands. A chorus that lifts Atakarina back into memory, so that when pale seeds drift, you see them not as toys, but as quiet signposts. Elders speak softly about will and timing, how the forest often answers before a question is fully formed. You are not asked to understand, only to listen. Food is gathered with care. A root is loosened with a carved stick. Berries are tested, not for fear, but for respect. A small cut in bark is sealed with sap before you leave it behind. You carry a leaf pouch, proud of its tie. Before tasting, you offer a breath and a touch of fingers to the earth. The pattern repeats until it is part of your bones. Let the first breath arrive within the warm heart of Home Tree, where woven roots form a cradle and midwives guide with steady hands and softer voices. A newborn blinks beneath fronds that filter bioluminescent hush, while elders murmur a promise to Ewa, gentle and sure. A tokarina drift near the child's brow, pale seeds swaying as if listening. The clan leans in, not to claim, but to welcome a thread joining the great song. You can feel the hush deepen, the way the forest pauses when life begins. As the child rests, Pandora breathes, and the night opens like a calm path. Night settles, and Home Tree glows like calm stars gathered close. The clans hum, thinning to a soft breath, while Atokarina drift and vanish into the dark. If this brought you ease, allow your body to sink and rest with the steady rhythm of the forest around you, and let your thoughts drift like seeds on a gentle wind. If this story brought you peace, you can find more like it here. Sweet dreams, and I look forward to seeing you next time.